Hey Guy, are you muted by any chance?
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Hey, hey.
Hey, so let me say it again. I'm welcoming CJ Wade to the stage. She's done a whole lot and she's going to be offering a whole lot. We had just a technical um, muting issue earlier, but we're going to go ahead get started. If CJ, you want to let everybody know a little bit about yourself, and then
Um,
we'll dive
yeah,
in.
of course. My name is CJ. I'm originally from DC, but I do currently live in North Carolina. I am a model, print runway, also a mentor, to some. I've been doing a little bit of this work. I want to say maybe for the past 5 years or so. So I'm just here to offer a little bit of guidance.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate that. And what we want to do is go ahead and, my goal is always to keep it keep it short. People told me there were the five B's. Be brief, my brother. Be brief. So we want everybody to like at least take in the entire episode and just offer as much input as they can. So the first question I wanted to ask you is how do you become a confident woman when nobody taught you confidence growing up?
Oh, you gotta tap in yourself, right? Or for those that, you didn't have those type of figures to show you, um, you gotta really know yourself. Like you have to really take the time to understand and recognize like your self-worth. Like you can't be above criticism. So it's a lot of fixing that you have to do within yourself to help you gain the confidence in the event that you don't have nobody there. Now, it is super difficult because it's easier to mimic, I
Yeah.
guess, what you see, but sometimes that's not the best route, right? Like habits that we thought were okay or things that we thought were okay as a young, when we were younger, as we got older,
Yeah.
we realized like, hey, that's not okay. So it's just a matter of like tapping into yourself, understanding and knowing your worth as a person and what you contribute, even when you walk into a room full of strangers. Like that's for me why I would say like confidence would pretty much come about, or you can learn how to become confident without someone necessarily, I guess, teaching you or you seeing it. So
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Oh, it definitely does. So, what do you believe is the biggest challenge facing Black women who grew up without strong female role models or mentors?
I think the biggest challenge that we face is the doubt, honestly. Um and it's the doubt from others. It's the fact that we don't really get a chance because a lot of people kind of fall into the stigma of what other people believe black women, um, you know, and still and hey, beautiful. And I think it's more so of the doubt that a lot of people cast on us. Um, that's the hardest. That's I want to pinpoint there. I think that is the biggest challenge that we kind of face because it's nothing for us to see or idolize or even pick up habits of
Mhm.
other figures that we may not have necessarily grew up under. But I mean, when you see a trait in another black woman that you know is going to help you, like you're going to adapt to that. Like you're going to pick up on those type of habits, and it's the same thing going the opposite way. So I don't think that it's us lacking the ability to. I just think more so of when we are trying the doubt that we get. Like we get a lot of backlash. We get a lot of crap, and not only are we trying to better ourselves, but now we got to prove to the world. So I think that in between that and juggling, um I guess I want to say what, like that lack of self-love, like the
Mhm.
we getting that we trying to like, I think for us not having that support is the biggest challenge because we're capable, but without that support it's difficult to do. So
So, when you say that, what ways do we have to self motivate? Like if you're not, what would you advise someone if a young woman is coming to you for advice, or you happen to be around one and you overhear her speaking, and she asks you like, I don't have self confidence. I'm depressed. Like, what can I do to start that? Like, how do I get that? Like when people see you, for example, they see you on the set, they see you doing your thing, and they may envy that. So they're asking you like what is your advice for this young 14-year-old girl that's going through that? How are you going to help her or encourage her to get that drive, to get that confidence?
You gotta love yourself. Like it's so hard. Usually when we're in depression, like we're not in a happy place. Like we're content, but you're on point. You gotta love yourself. Speak life into yourself. Cause even when nobody else see it in you, and it's gonna be times where the whole world's gonna be against you, you gotta keep grounded within self. You can't allow people to break you. You can have your breaking moments, you can have your points, but don't allow those moments to become you. Right? Don't be above criticism neither, because I know a lot of times a lot of us, especially as we become adults, we don't like for people to tell us nothing, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if it applies, it applies. So instead of us correcting it, people get into the habit of, hey, when people hit a certain age, you can't really change that at all. Yes, you can if you really want it. So it's like you can't be above criticism. Like it's nothing that nobody can say that I haven't already said to myself, because I'm my biggest enemy. Like so it's nothing nobody can say that can hurt my feelings, because I already know where I flaw at. But the difference in between me and maybe the next person, and this is me still talking to the 14-year-old, I can identify that and I can change that because I got the capabilities. I'm not going to
Mhm.
be combative because I understand that's actually the issue. I know how to understand and listen to the message and not focus on the volume. Now that does matter. The volume does matter. Who it's coming from may also matter too, but you have to understand that if the message itself, if it's the truth, it's the truth. It don't matter who mouth it's coming out of, it's the truth. So you got to be able to identify that. You got to be able to sit with that. You got to have the um exactly, it's never too late to change. You have to have the ability to identify that and want to do better for yourself. So I think that once people stop doing things for the sake of others and they do it more so for themselves, you'll get better results. So yeah, baby girl, like you gotta love yourself. Love yourself. Even when the world against you, you always make sure that you got your back, no matter what.
Okay. So I know you're probably gonna well, I'm gonna want you to spend a little bit more time on the next one, because I think I have a little input on that. But can a woman truly learn a healthy relation or learn healthy relationships if she's never witnessed one growing up?
Yes. And I love that question because statistically, I will be a prime example of somebody who wouldn't have a healthy relationship, seeing that I never witnessed what some would consider a healthy relationship growing up. Now, my grandma raised me. My grandma, my grandfather, they still married, but they live in two separate states. Now, if you say it to somebody in our age or today's age, or maybe somebody younger, is like, oh no, I'm not going to be married. I can't live with my husband. But you got to understand, these grandparents we talking about. So, you know,
Yeah.
I have a bunch. My family is full of women, so it's a bunch of strong, independent women. So when people hear that, they think, "Oh no, you guys are too difficult to work with." No, we're not. Like, no,
Mhm.
we're not. So I think that for a long time, I didn't want to get married, and my husband noticed. Like I did not want to get married. Why? Because I didn't witness myself what I would like out of a marriage. But he had to let me know like what you see and what you like depicted as a healthy relationship, because of what was working for them, doesn't have to necessarily be your norm. Like you control what the life that you want to create.
Yeah.
So I do think that women can truly develop healthy relationships if you're at one with yourself, um and then you come to with someone that is just as equal, that don't mind give you that grace while you're in a process of learning. If they can understand and still be around and still try to teach you and you be teachable, absolutely. Like
Mhm.
it's only when people get in the way of themselves, or they feel like they're like nobody can tell them enough, they've already experienced enough to know what they're talking about and know what they're looking for, but you're not open to anything. And I can completely understand why, given, what a lot of people go through. But you got to understand, like, you sometimes you got to throw yourself in the fire to really know what's what. Now, the reason why I say that is because most of the time when we first see things, like I say, I wasn't okay with, like, I didn't think it was healthy for them to be living in separate households. Why? Because they always told us, mom and dad, you be in the same house, yada, yada, yada. So I didn't want it. And that was one of the reasons why. Well, what if you do up and leave me and you go to another state?
Yeah.
And sidebar. So I do like this question. You have to break generational cycles. Just because you so toxic doesn't mean you have to be toxic. And I had to understand that from a different angle. Because for me, once I seen that, I already made my decision that I was never getting married. I was never having children. Like, I'm okay being a rich auntie because I didn't think I had the capabilities of cultivating or attempting to cultivate a healthy relationship. So once I had someone that was patient with me, that like we both learned together because we were both together for a very long time, but we both gave each other grace and we both had to be understanding. We both had to heal within ourselves before we could do it for the other person. So it took a lot, but it's super possible. It's not impossible.
So let's say you fast forward to what you're speaking about and your insight. Let's say we fast forward 10, 15 years. Oh, what life lessons do many Black women end up learning the hard way because nobody taught them?
It's so we get okay, so we do get taught a lot, guys. Like, I don't think y'all be giving us enough. I would say one thing that is super difficult if you're not able to see is to, like, when you're hyper independent, is allowing, I guess, that blurred line of allowing a guy to lead, or like the man to lead. I think that's maybe one of the biggest things. But you have to understand, coming from somebody that's hyper independent, I mean, what you expect, right? I mean, it's not necessarily her fault, especially given what's going on. But you as the man, you have to be able to identify that and help her repair before just demanding that from her, and you know that she haven't seen it. And she cannot even be, because I had that same issue. So I'm not even going to speak in a separate me. I will speak for me. Like, I
Mhm.
had an issue with allowing him to lead because I was super hyper independent. Like, I've been independent all my life. Everything I went through on my own. So I wanted to maintain that structure within myself and not lose autonomy. But I didn't realize that I was losing the structure within my relationship, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah, it does.
so yeah, like it's but he understood. Did I get on his nerves? Absolutely. Did we get into arguments? Absolutely. Did we get into fights? Absolutely. But he understood. So he could have easily walked away, but he understood that I had the capabilities of, once shown, that I'll follow suit, no questions. Now, you also got to understand, a lot of women, like a lot of guys, demand the whole, let me lead. But if you don't carry the attributes and the characteristics of a leader, and if you're not teachable yourself, no one's going to allow you in that position. So I think a lot of people misconstrue and think that it's black women that's being combative, when most of the time it's a lot of guys that simply don't know how to lead. They don't know how to be a companion, to their wife. Like, they look at it as, this your wifely duties, this is what you're supposed to do, this is what I'm supposed to do, and that's that. So a lot of people lack other key components when it comes to relationships, like companionship, which is the hugest thing people lack. And everybody just completely all around missed the plot. So I don't think it would be like 100% us. I even think that even if she was to put herself in a situation where she's allowing him to lead, look where a lot of women that is taught that, they end up in a lot of situations, or in the hands of a lot of abusive men. So I mean, it's a give and take. But to draw back down to the question, I think like the hyper independence thing, I think that be tearing us up. That be tearing us up. I'm not gonna lie,
Okay.
y'all. It be tearing us up.
All right. So let me to piggyback off what you just said. Um, I think it was Erica Badu who had a song "Bag Lady,"
Yes.
and I think when we talk about hard life lessons, and I think that's a big life lesson because I think when first off, when we grow up, and let's say we're in a dysfunctional environment, we go to school, we have friends, and we kind of like can see a lot of our friends how their parents interact or their relationships. Like a lot of the parents may not have been married together, but then there are some of those friends who had parents that were married. And so I say that because we may not have had that inside the home, but we saw our friends. We knew what was right. We knew what was wrong. And I think like we know we just make a decision. Is this something that I'm going to accept and just live with and this is how life is, or am I going to be better and try to like be the role model that I see all these other people being? And I think sometimes when women they deal with a whole lot of trauma, that they start to build walls. So they meet this guy, and the guy is trying to talk to him and everything, but she keeps him at arm's length. That distance, but not just physically, but I'm talking about mentally. Like she may lay down with him fast, but mentally she has those walls up. And men aren't Marvel superheroes. They're not Spider-Man. They can't climb walls. So at one point or another, and I guess this is where it comes into whether you want to be in a healthy relationship, a serious relationship, or learn lessons from the past to break a generational cycle or break those chains. Sometimes you have to go outside the norm. Sometimes you have to be different. Like when I hear somebody plan on, oh, I just have to make sure that I'm talking to this guy now and I need to make sure I have my pigs in a blanket and all of that just in case it don't work out. Like you're already planning, so apparently the vetting process that you use wasn't on point, or you like me and Tanya talked a few weeks ago about red flags. They're showing you all these red flags and you're ignoring them all because you like because he over 6 foot, you like because certain things that's allowing you to overlook that. So I think some of the hard life lessons that women may learn due to them just ignoring some of those lessons. What do you think about that?
I disagree 1,000,000%. A lot of
Okay.
people, just like you said, men aren't Superman. They can't climb over walls. Yes, you can. Can you physically climb over them? Probably not. But once you're able to identify what the issue is, and once you choose as a man, 'cause you gotta understand it's two parties, right? And I think that's another thing, and that goes back to my first point. What makes it difficult? Because even in the process of us learning, we got to do it by ourselves. It's our responsibility. It's not the man's responsibility, right? Now, I'm not saying it's fully your responsibility to make me heal, but if we agree to go into a relationship and you can identify that her walls is up, it's just as much of a red flag on your end than it is hers. Now,
Mhm.
y'all talked about two different things. You talked about people with intention. You talked about people without intention. Anybody that goes straight to physical attributes have no intentions on being with anybody. So, of course, they're going to
Mhm.
avoid or ignore the red flags because that's not what they checking for. They checking for their height. They checking for that face card. The same thing with men. You're doing the same thing. You ignoring the
Mhm.
flags. But while you allowing her to try to repair herself without your assistance, what make you think that you gonna come in at the end and think that she gonna love and cherish you when you sat and watched her build herself? Now, everybody go through stuff. Nobody is 100% healed and healthy, even when it come down to basic communication. I hate when people say, I'm not about to explain myself. No, yes, you do. Because you got a pissy way of articulating stuff. So, yeah, you
Mhm.
may feel like you don't have to, but you do have to. So, while that may be on what some consider a smaller level, now you magnify what you feel like is a bigger level, and it's black woman's ability to or black woman's inability to. That's a problem. Because again, it draws back. If y'all in a relationship and if her walls is built as a man, this is the wall that you're climbing. Because if you choose to be like, you know what, even through it all, I still love her and I'ma still figure it out. You identifying what the issue is and you help her through the issue is you climbing over that wall. So can you climb over it? Is men Marvel? Absolutely. Absolutely. Anybody with intentions, anybody with a brain, same thing with a man. Because while you struggle with your emotional intelligence and your emotional awareness, guess who's there to help? Is women gonna look at it, or most women with intentions, because now we're talking about two different categories of women. With intentions, gonna look at you and be like, well, you need to go ahead and fix it on your own in the beginning. No, she gonna help you. She gonna help you identify whatever form that come in is a little bit different. But if she's sticking around to help you, that's her climbing them same walls that y'all built, because or whatever the case is, and that's her trying to at ease and break that down. So I love that, because most of the questions is, what can black women do to do this? What can black, and we be doing it, but it don't come out in a form that most black guys need for whatever reason, and then we end up getting blamed for it. So it kind of make it harder for us to keep on trucking or keep on building, or at least trying to build, because we're expected to fix everything on our own, but then help y'all fix y'all stuff too. No,
Mhm.
absolutely not. So I do kind of disagree. Are you guys Spider-Man? Yes, you are, because you got the capabilities of identifying a problem. You got the ability to assist with that issue. And if she still decides to fight you on it after you've put in work without you losing yourself, then by all means, leave, because at that point you're able to identify that she strictly don't want it. She don't want to do the change. But you have to understand, a lot of people actually put that work in, but it's a little bit of a struggle, so you got to give them grace. He may want to help and climb over the wall, but if she don't want to change, it won't work. Absolutely. That's the same thing with a guy. If she don't want to change, if that person themselves don't, because I don't like the gender thing, that really gets under my skin. If that person themselves don't want to change, I don't think nobody should lose themselves trying to make them change. Absolutely walk away, but you got to know when to walk away. But you can't walk away off the first time you attempt to teach her and get mad because it's not flowing how you want. That's crazy. A lot of men don't have patience with us, and especially black women. So I don't know. I think y'all Spider Man. I think y'all Superman. Because once y'all climb over that wall, we defend y'all no matter what. So,
Well, let me ask you this.
mhm,
So, at what point, when we, we're speaking about the black woman.
mhm,
So, at what point do we start taking into account the one unfortunate thing that happens a lot in the black community is that there's a lot of fathers that aren't around. So a lot of these mothers are raising these young men, and I personally feel like they're not raising these young men to value a woman, to appreciate. Like I always tell people, like I think a father is real important, especially in a young woman's life, because where a mother may teach nurturing, the father teaches a young woman her worth, like helps boost that confidence, help do things to make her get that confidence being around men, or being, when she gets older. I think everything begins to add together like a puzzle to kind of like make it easier. But when we look at, I feel like, I know you said you completely disagree, but I feel, and I've said this before, that women have all the cards. They like they have all the cards. They have all the power. Guys don't go out and get 22-inch rims on a vehicle for them. They're getting it because it's going to attract attention. They're not wearing crazy chains or anything for them. They're hoping to attract a certain female. I think everything are vanity. I'll say, just like when you look at the animal world, every male animal has bright colors. Like when you look at two peacocks, the female is just brown. It's the male that has all these blues and reds and yellows and greens in their feathers, and they have to do the dance to earn the female. When you look at all these fish in the ocean, they build these, you watch Discovery, and they're building these displays at the bottom of the ocean to attract female to come and want to lay eggs in that home or in that burrow or that cave or wherever they're at. It's like everything is surrounded us, but I do think that there, we talk about accountability. Like I think Tanya mentioned earlier that you have to want to change. Like there are some people that this is just how it is. This is how I'm gonna be. They're not even open to change, and so I think that's what they're gonna attract. They're gonna attract the drama. They're gonna attract the dysfunction. What do you think?
I agree. Because you know what you are is what you're going to attract. So for somebody that's always in the midst of chaos, you're attracting it. That's because you are chaos. Um, do I agree? Not do I agree. Back to your initial statement when you state it's important for it to be a two-parent household. Most men are not in a kid's life. Most women raise their sons to be a certain way. First of all, they shouldn't be raising them at all by themselves. I think the issue is people are scared to build relations. So, and a lot of people or a lot of adults, I'm gonna say people, because even kids too, having kids at a young age, we're irresponsible with our thought process and we're irresponsible with our bodies. Most of the time, when these people are having, like, when they're having kids or they have a dysfunctional, already set dysfunctional relationship, which then results to them breaking up before the kid even touched this earth, nine
Mhm.
times out of ten, they was just linking. It was on something super surface level, right? Can I
Yeah.
100% blame her? Absolutely not, because then it comes to a point where you stripping the responsibility from the man, because now you're expecting for black women to know you got to do this, you got to hold. No, it takes two to
Yeah.
tango. So why is she raising them kids by herself? Why aren't you there? All situations, is it because, oh, the baby mother is bitter and because X? It don't always be like that.
Mhm.
I've known people's situations in great detail and watched them go on social media and put on a completely different debacle because of the type of engagement they get back, because they got men that's going to pop in there, and because you so hurt you going to agree your baby mother done did the same thing to you, so now you in
Mhm.
here and agreeing and you egging it on when me and you both know that's not the truth. When somebody hop in the comments and say, well, hey, why you don't take this avenue and this avenue? Now you raising hell. Now everybody against the man. Ain't nobody against the man, because you know that's not the truth. So we also need to be careful what's being put on social media. We do. Once we get into the nitty gritty and we start asking people about their life, they'll be able to tell you. But to get back to what you were saying, she shouldn't even be raising them by herself. But that all starts from what was the dynamic of y'all relationship before y'all even got here.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't take that into accountability. A lot of people don't pay attention to that. They get to a point where they get irresponsible with their body, and when they have sex and when she become pregnant, now it's my choice, my body. Now, because we're so used to seeing black women raise families by themselves, that it's okay, like, you know what, it's okay, we still gonna have that. Now the beliefs of, hey, I don't believe in abortion. That's not me. I'm sorry. Like, my beliefs isn't gonna help me take care of no kid. Yes, I grew up in a family with nothing but strong women, but I refuse to be a single parent. Because what sense does that make? I watched my mother raise, it's six of us. My grandma raised two of us, and my mother raised the other four. Super dysfunctional. You know what the normal I was. She by choice. I would have never. You had a choice, and you still decide. It's not that deep. But at the end of the day, why are you doing it by yourself? Where's the responsibility of the man? So, I mean, I get that we're supposed to do a lot, but now you're stripping the responsibility of the other party. Because if we're entering into this by our own lonesome, I can get it. Shift our responsibility to us. There's a lot we need to fix. But it's a two-way. So no, I mean, it's not a playbook on how to raise kids. Of course, well, I'm not gonna say that. Yes, it is. It's a bunch of pamphlets. It's a bunch of information that tell you on how to raise kids as a whole, all around. Not maybe down to the nitty gritty. Everybody raise their kids differently, cool. But it's the matter of you guys doing it together. Why is one parent only doing it?
Mhm.
That's the issue. But I'm not even. Is it healthy? Yes. But I've also seen people that been in two-parent households that exhibit way worse behaviors than somebody in a single-parent household. So you gotta understand the importance of a healthy relationship or establishing one before even starting a family. That's why a lot of people press that. And some people get offended, like, oh, everybody don't want to be married. It's not the matter of that. At least have a healthy relationship. Understand what a healthy foundation look like when you guys are bringing another life into the world. It's no longer about y'all. Like, so it's a lot. But if you really want to go back all the way to the beginning, it's the dynamic of how them people got together. Y'all never had pure intentions. Y'all were just two freaky people that did some freaky stuff and end up in a freaky situation. And now y'all got kids, y'all don't like each other. Y'all come to disagreements because y'all don't even know the other person for real, for real. And now she a single mother, he on child support, he bashing her. Now all black women, it's a whole no, it's decision making skills. So I think that's the issue. She shouldn't be raising kids by herself, and he shouldn't be having a hard time trying to be in his kid's life if that's something that he really, yearning for. So yeah, definitely a healthy foundation. Even if y'all not married, like, I don't know.
No, I think you said a lot that definitely focus on a lot of things, but when you mention the two-parent household, where you I'll call it the nuclear family. You have the male, you have the female, and normally men are just there to be enforcers, discipline. That's what, like, if you need a friend, talk to your mother. I'm gonna make sure that I'm not your friend. I'm to make sure that you're protected. You learn things about life that's gonna help you survive in this world. And I think when I hear sometimes I'll hear women say, well, they don't want to have a child in this world and they don't want to have certain things. When I look back to people that say that, they didn't have fathers in their lives, and all they saw was that mother struggling to do, to make ends meet, and I think that's what is discouraging. I just don't like the influence that people outside of the black community put on black women and black men. They have black women thinking you don't need a man for anything, and then they have black men thinking, it's okay to be feminine, to you know touch your feminine side, and it's okay for you to carry a purse. It's okay for you to, like, it's just certain, that's my personal belief. I just think that the black community in general, like everything that I see black women going through now and even black men going through now, I think is by design from the system who wants to destroy the black family. I honestly think that all of this stuff is by design.
Yep. I
And yeah. So let me ask you. So how does growing up without a positive example um of a strong woman or a woman that you look as a mentor affect a woman's self-worth, standards, and decision making?
Ooh, how does growing up without a positive example affects a woman's self-worth? That's super easy. I mean, I had strong examples and strong women. So I can't speak from a level of like experience, but I want to say it does affect them because like I mentioned earlier, like most of us pretty much mimic what we see, right? We think that how we seen mom handle conflict and stuff like that is the healthiest ways, not realizing that it's not the healthiest ways. Um, but it does tremendously affect people that don't necessarily have those positive role models, because then a lot of people, when it comes to you, especially getting into a relationship, something as simple as you not knowing how to talk to people, like, because you're so used to seeing your mom yell at people, or when she get mad shut down to prove a point. Like, it's just the small habits, right? Us thinking that meant retaining, I want to say, like, that power was actually exhibiting really poor behaviors. But it takes
Mhm.
us to get older to actually like see that. Same thing when it comes to standards. Like, I guess statistically, you would have said I would have never was supposed to have the life that I have. That's why I'm like, I don't be believing in statistics because you can pretty much be whatever you want. It's how you control your outcome is how you control your outcome. But even when it comes to standards, you're not having a positive example when you see, men or even women floating in and out your parents' house, your single parents' house, whatever the case is, and you thinking that's normal. So, I mean, not seeing that positive role model that does affect people tremendously because they don't realize that it's a bad habit and trying to break somebody from what's considered their norm is dangerous and it's very touchy. And if you do decide to stick around, you have to try to do that without breaking yourself, if that makes sense. So
Yeah, it does.
yeah, that was a good question. I like that.
Yeah, so a lot of those are, I would assume, would be generational cycles or generational change.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
So, what generational cycles are the most important for Black women to break their daughters and younger family members from?
The first one, please don't have no kid when you got a teen in your age. That is the biggest one. Like, and I made sure that that was something that I did not do. That was something really huge. With me breaking into like young adulthood or like being a teenager,
Hmm.
that was like the first thing for me. That be careful of like the company that you keep. Like, far as another generational curse, because a lot of us see like what you'll think tradition, like the abusive man in the house, and then the woman who always get beat in front. So making sure that you're comfortable and you're aware and also not getting pregnant with a teen in your age. I think those two are like the most important ones, especially for me. My mom been in a bunch of abusive relationships when I was younger, so I like what used to fight like a lot, especially like a lot of the guys that she was dating. So I definitely, when I was able to identify everything I didn't want to deal with or didn't want to go through, like I made sure I did the literal opposite, and I can tell it was, I want to say, a generational curse. I want to say, oh well, maybe. Oh no, 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 no. Mm. Know better, do better. That's not, you know what? And I'm so glad I looked down and read that because that was gonna bring me to my point. You can't really say that because I know a lot of women that are very super religious that falls in the hand of very abusive people, but because they religion is allowing them to stay in that situation, although they know that's no good, they can't do no better, if that makes sense. So a lot of stuff of what you would think is common sense has been instilled in people from a young age and it has become their norm. You have to understand from a different perspective how that's considered normal to them versus for you it's not considered normal. So trying to break, that's like trying to tell somebody that Christianity or tell them that their religion isn't what their religion really thought it was all this time. People are going to be upset. But you
Well,
uh-huh.
yeah, let me use that. You mentioned the church. I think, like, when people say they grew up in the church
Mhm.
and they witnessed their mother having the most dysfunction in their relationships, I think a lot of that has to do with I think a lot of it has to do with how they perceive their mother. Like, you act a certain way at home, and you're around people at home, but then when you go to church, you act all saint and sanctified.
Oh,
You have this thing. So I think that's the reason why it's so hard to break those chains.
no. I can tell
Because
firsthand, so they don't know better. True. I can tell you firsthand that that is not it. If anything, a lot of when daughters peep that, they try not to be the hypocrite because they mom are really super hypocritical, right?
Mhm.
They're only beneficial when it work in their favor. I personally know someone that their religion is literally the reason why they continue to stay in a relationship because everything that most men, preach, this how you gotta be a certain way, you gotta treat a man this way, you gotta do. She literally lives by that. So
Mhm.
despite her having a man that's mentally, emotionally, and physically abusive to her, because she lived by the word of what her mom and what the Bible is teaching her, she just This is what the man want. This is what the man need. Like this is so it become extremely dangerous when you become a people pleaser and then you fall in the hands of the wrong person. Which is why a
Okay.
lot of black women, when we do see that, we become more hardball because it's like, oh no. So now we end up, building them stronger walls,
Hmm. Yeah.
because that's dangerous too. That's super dangerous. And I'd rather be single alone by myself, of which you think that I'm bitter and I'm depressed because I don't have a man, versus being in a live hell. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's he stripped her away from her family. She don't talk to nobody. She don't see is no none of that. And the only person that she's allowed to speak with is her mom, and that's because her mom advocates for her husband, despite the husband being abusive. But because she say, hey, this is what he need, this is what a man need, this is what she don't realize
Yeah.
she's guiding her daughter into a hell pit. Your daughter
Yeah.
lacks self autonomy, and that's not something as a black woman that naturally happens to us. We don't lack self autonomy. So I don't know. I wouldn't say that, and that's not from assumption. That's me actually knowing. When you get down and you ask, you get down to get into the nitty gritty. People will actually tell you versus most people who have assumptions. Like, no, that's not the reason why. Actually, like these moms, these people, they really like. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
But would it be when you talk about the mom, she is choosing that.
What you mean? She's
Like you don't you're not really forced into an abusive or a dysfunctional relationship. You choose to be in that.
no. See,
Okay.
you choose to when you know better. Think about this. Super weird. West Virginia, incest. A lot of people who have sex with their family members think it's normal because that's
Mhm.
their world. That's all they know. When you're isolated from the outside world, and the main people that's teaching you your core values and standards in life is telling you that this is correct, that is now instilled in you. You choose when you wasn't raised to be that way. Yeah, it's almost like you got Stockholm syndrome. Exactly. You were raised, this is what you're programmed to believe. So now this is you. That's like a computer. Once you program it, you program it. You can't expect for her to know any better, or correlate that being right from wrong when she's been taught all her life at home, in school, at church. The only difference is maybe when she's at work. You got the views of other people. Other opinions from other people. But other than that, when every other aspect and corner of your life is telling you that this is correct,
Mhm.
she's not choosing anything in her brain because that's how she was raised. That is the correct way. Same thing with her mom, because the same thing her mom taught her and her mom taught him. But all of them been with nothing but abusive men that all
Is it
dying. But
is
that's
it yeah, is it the correct way or is it the only way that they know?
the only way that they're no. That's why. Well, so
Yeah.
when I made that statement, somebody was like, I think it was a comment that popped up at the bottom. It was like, so if you do better, you. That's the only way they know. We know it's wrong. We feel like it's a choice because common sense says if Johnny has 7 apples and you take away 4, how many is left? But for her, she don't see it like that. The word problem is written completely different. She's gonna come up with a different answer because she don't know any better. Looking from outside in, you'll think and assume you got a choice, and you stand because you got a choice. That's not even the case. That girl think this is normal, and she can agree with a man like you to say, "Hey, men's supposed to be like this, and black women, you don't do this." And what she do, she go into this self isolation where she get extremely heavy on herself because of what everybody's saying black women is and black women should do, and then she like, no, you got to understand how important that is and how that be stripping us sometimes. We either gonna go left or we gonna go right with it.
Yeah.
So you can't you expecting for us to do this without knowledge of this, leading to be able to do this all on our own, but then giving you the ability to like it's too much. And when you sit down and you put yourself in our shoes, I think it'd be better to understand. But I don't know. She think it's normal. I think it's stupid, which makes it harder to leave because that's literally and that's all she know. Family members have even went to bed with her, fought together, did everything, but she refused to leave. She got kids by him and everything. So she know the word of God, you keep your family together. It's God that like so she lived by it down to the T, and she
Mhm.
refused to leave because that's all she know. That's all she knows. That's normal for her. So everything that we're speaking is foreign to her. But if you was to say, hey, if you speak her language, this how man should be, black women, maybe if you do this a little better, da da da, you will speak her language. You can't speak nobody, you can't speak my language. That ain't mine, because I hear you, but it's multiple components to this entire equation.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just, y'all gotta look deeper. Y'all gotta give us grace. Y'all gotta be able to identify what the issue is and where the issue is, and instead of forcing us to do it on our own, but then helping you, like, nah, it gotta be a two-way. It gotta be a two-way lane for for the ones that want the help. The ones that don't want the help, you shouldn't be attracting them type of people. You should be able to identify them type of flags and then just move on. Like,
Yeah. So how can Black women heal from childhood experiences while still building successful careers and relationships and families?
we
What are
have
some of the things that they can do to heal?
we gotta build community. We have to want to do better. Don't Please don't take yourself out and you disturbing somebody else's peace because you trying to struggle on if you want better for yourself. Don't be wasting nobody's time
Mhm.
like that. Please don't. And this is for anybody, but of course I'm speaking for mine because I love y'all. So we gotta want better for ourselves. Once we want better for ourselves, we need to have the ability to build community, and you got to be able to pour into others the same way others pour into you. When you want better and you're around like-minded people, it eliminates the chances of you being around people that's not conducive to your growth process. So
Mhm.
once we do that and we're able to heal within, we can make them sound decisions, and we can be comfortable with making those sound decisions. So I think wanting to identify if you want better and then being around a sense of community and then pouring into each other, that's how we grow.
I think another tool is definitely counseling. I see a lot of people in the Black community that, when they talk about cancer and heart attacks and certain things being at the highest percentage in the Black community, I don't think it's because of genetics necessarily. I think it's because we don't go to the doctor, we don't get help, we don't get assistance. And one of the biggest thing is, I may talk to this guy and he's like, "Man, I'm going through this and this." I'm like, "Well, why don't you get a counselor?" To vent, somebody that's not in your circles. No, man, I'll just go to the barbershop, sometimes just hanging out, but they're never addressing it. Just like when if a woman goes through a bad breakup, her friends get her to go out and stay busy, never dealing with the issue, but just putting stuff in place, staying busy. And I think one of the biggest things I think is just to start the healing process is to not just is to kind of be accountable for the walls that you've built, be accountable for um or not accountable but acknowledge, okay, my mother didn't do this, my mother didn't show this, but also showing that you did see some positives in your childhood. Like you may have had a distant aunt or uncle that was happily married that you saw did everything they could. You can use them as a model. And I think, you know, at the same time, I don't want to go into the next question, but I just think, counseling, and I say counseling because sometimes that counselor can get you to kind of like pinpoint certain issues that hanging out with your girlfriends won't, because they're just going to be the girl, I'm gonna support you no matter what. They're not necessarily given tools or using certain skills. They're just letting you vent and they're consoling you. And I think that's the reason why a lot of things happen, why so many women begin, collecting bags.
No, I don't agree.
That's fine.
So we actually go to the we actually see therapists more than you guys. Like, I don't I think you have to. I think so. It's layers to it, right? I do think it's super unhealthy to not seek the professional help, but now you have to ask why. Because now you got a whole race that's not doing it. Just like you mentioned about the whole not going to the doctor, you have a whole race that's not doing it. So why? A lot of people like to blame the effect and not the cause. Now, how many times have we died in our hands or been misdiagnosed, mishandled on purpose by doctors, by therapists, given medication that we shouldn't even be on by these trusted figures? So now, because we're aware of this, we've seen this, we experienced this, if not directly, indirectly, do I get mad that we don't go to the doctor? Yes, but no. I don't get mad because I understand the position, because I've even experienced it several times on my own, being in the hands of a doctor who do not care about me as a black woman. They can't resonate. They don't understand. They don't care. They don't care. So y'all understand how scary that is. That a lot of us be misdiagnosed and we're not being handled the way we supposed to. So we're not going to go. Do I think that we need to have more of us in that field, whereas we're more comfortable? Absolutely. I fully understand why we're not. That's something else different, but it's more now than it have been back then. So now most of us are gone because we're looking for doctors that look just like us, that will be able to resonate and give us the answers that we're actually looking for. The same thing with therapy. Imagine going to an older white lady as an older white lady as a black woman and expecting for her to understand what I'm going through. That's the reason why, to me, interracial relationships is a bit iffy, because how are you with somebody that can never resonate with you? If I'm coming home and I'm telling you how my white boss is acting a certain way or they being microaggressive, you're gonna tell me I'm overthinking. But me and you both know how black folks, are have like get that microaggressive behavior in all white corporate workspaces. We know what it is, but you will never be able to resonate. But yeah, I have to pay you as a therapist to tell me that what I'm thinking or how I'm feeling is not accurate and how you're trying to prescribe me medic. No, sometimes it do take for me to simply vent so I can clear my head. Sometimes that's all it takes for us to do. So what you see is, oh, she just take you out so that you can party. Nah, it be steps to it. If you already seen her at the club with her friends, 9 times out of 10, they've been up for days talking, crying, doing everything under the book, under the Bible, getting the help, the resources, everything they need, and you just catching the going out part. No, no,
Mhm.
no, no, no. It don't be like that all the time. But I do understand why we don't go to the doctor or don't go to the therapist like that. But you can't 1,000,000% blame us. If you don't mind, can you put that comment back up real quick? It was from I want to say Tanya.
Yep,
I know we
Tanya
get no comment.
talks.
That's facts. You don't get the same level of care. You don't. You do not get the same level of care. So it's
Well,
just
not to cut you off, but I think when we talk about the same level of care, is educating our people on what is the proper level of care. Because like me and my age, I know what proper care should be. So I'll give an example. Like 6 years ago, I just started seeing a counselor. And I went in saying, okay, I'm gonna make sure it's somebody that's black. I'm gonna make sure it's a male. I'm gonna make sure all of these things so we can resonate. After the eighth time, I was like, I've only vented for 8 sessions at
mhm.
$150 a pop. Like, when are they gonna help me like figure out like what's going on in my mind? So I got a different one. This was I went to a black woman. I'm like, okay, well, she gonna resonate with, you know, what I think I may need.
Mhm.
Same thing. I didn't really get anything. So next thing I know, I go to a this Hispanic brother, and the first two sessions, okay, it's kind of like venting, and he's taking notes. He's like the first one that took notes out of all these counselors. So then the third time I come in, he began to ask probing questions. He began to ask like, what are your triggers? What do you think is doing this and that? So I felt like, okay, now I have the counselor that I think I need. So I'll see you every month or I'll see you every 3 months. And it's the same way with a doctor. We went to this one doctor and it's like, okay, we pay this copay, we go in there, and it takes 2 minutes to diagnose what my medical issue is. And then he spends 15 minutes talking about, oh yeah, the soccer game. Like, I'm like, then I realized they have to keep you in a certain amount of time to get credit for the full, for the full visit. He can't charge me $385 for 12 minutes. It has to be 15 minutes. So that's the thing I think is with the I don't even think necessarily to me, I could care. Matter of fact, I'd rather have an Indian treating me medically because they have no bedside manner and they're going to tell me literally how it is. They're not going to say, oh, your blood pressure went up 40 points, but, that's not too bad. An Indian would be like, oh, you're going to die. You're going to, like they don't pull punches.
Mm.
I need no bedside manner. That's why I have my wife for it. That's why I have, my support system for to give me that comfort. When it comes to the doctor, I just need to be told what's up. So I don't think always like I don't want to go to the doctor's office also and say, well, you need to come in you need to hire me as your doctor because I'm a black man too, so I understand like certain things and that other people don't. And I'm sitting there, I'm looking like I'm also not going to come to you specifically for that. I'm going to see if your treatment is on point. If your treatment's on point, then I'll be back. But if it's not, I'll find another doctor. So I just think that we have to educate on what is proper care. Like do more research, read reviews on the social worker that's doing the counseling. Do reviews just like in college people look at ratemyprofessor.com. And so I think they have the same thing for doctors. So I think people we just need to start teaching the younger generation how what it is to have proper self-care, just to simply say we don't know what proper care is or the right care. Like that could be anything. But once you give them a visual of it, I think that will bring it more to light. What do you think?
I agree. Um, ha- um, I agree. I mean, for me, it's the same way. I mean, it's just that for me, I'm going to give me and mine's more of a chance. Like
Yeah.
that's just if I'm a shop around, I'm a still shop around with somebody that I can resonate with, like somebody that you could be good at your job, cool. All nationalities, cool, 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 cool. But to completely ignore the fact that we've been mistreated in the hands of others, it's like I'ma always like search within my own first. That's
Yeah.
just even because it's plenty of us that do good. It's plenty of us that capitalize off what trends are. Same thing with every other race. You just like you mentioned, oh, come do with me because I'm black and da da da. You capitalize. That's cool. But now I don't want to deal with you. But am I going to jump and then jump ship to a white guy or Asian guy? No, I'm not. I'm still going to shop within my eyes. Like if it comes to a point where now I don't see it and I have no choice but to, then that would be
Yeah.
the second option. But if I'm gonna do all that, I'm gonna still do all that with with mine, because I personally experienced being mishandled in the hands of every other race and nationality. And then when I came into the hands of a black woman, she got me right. She got me right. She heard all of my concerns. I went in there and told her all the issues I've had over the course of years, and even the issues I had with the professionals I was dealing with, doctors, therapists, the whole nine yard. And she got me right all the way down to the T. So I think it varies. I do agree that of course, if you do educate people properly versus people being completely turned off from the idea of, we have a healthier group as a whole. It'll be more talked about. versus overlooked, because they're out there, but I just think because it's not enough that it's just being overlooked. So, but I agree though.
Okay. Well, I definitely want to thank you for coming on and giving your insight and your perspective. I do enjoy that you push back. You made it clear what I said didn't agree, but I will let you know that I appreciate you doing that because this podcast, this episode was about women, and I'm I'm replying from a men's point of view. So I appreciate you like checking. No, it's not like that at all.
I'm
No,
sorry.
not no. But that's what we need, like the communication, the dialogue, and I think that's how we'll promote more moving forward. But I do want to thank you. I want to thank the viewers for tuning in. And next week we're going to be talking about how to lead when you've never been led. And the guest panelist is going to be Lamoy Decena, and I'm really looking forward to that. And I think make sure everybody subscribe, like, and I also want to let yeah, Corey, it's okay to disagree respectively.
Yeah.
Yep, I appreciate that. And I did want people to know, just let people know that Tanya Talk, she's been on a couple of episodes and she has just released a book. It's called Product of My Circumstance. It's on Amazon. I did order it, and the Kindle, I've gotten through the first three chapters, but I think that's a really good read. Um, so I want to I'm gonna actually post that on the YouTube for people to go and order that. But I want to thank you again, CJ, and I hope everyone has a safe weekend, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
All right, guys.
All right.